Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode number 2 of the Catching Up with I3 podcast. Here with Kinger, and Iggy is MIA on vacation, so we are not joined with him today, unfortunately. Say hi, Kinger.
What's up?
Yeah, I know everybody loves Kinger, and his lovely takes on whatsoever I ask him. He is my guru for questions if I don't know what to say
Yeah,
and fill
just the
time.
smartest person in the room here.
Yeah, exactly. So today we are going to be covering Season 11 awards. Those have finally been released. We have been so kind to release them to you, give you the first glimpse. I'm sure they'll be posted later in the media coverage channel made by Logic. We also got some updated power rankings after week 2.5 to go through before the late sign up draft that occurs on Friday, May the 14th, as I look at my calendar. And we have our top 10s at each position so far. Uh, from the three of us, even though Iggy cannot join us, we'll still share his list. We've been given his blessing. So without further ado, why not? And let's get into this thing, shall we? As you can see my scuffed view, you might have actually kind of seen that when I transitioned over to the PowerPoint. Uh, a quick glimpse at the future awards that are to be discussed, but I'll shut up. And the first award is obviously recognizing the champions, North Korea last season, led by I believe that was who was that? Vane, Sakic.
That's Kessel, Doughty,
Oh,
Vanks, Cal Daddy, Crazy Joe, I believe.
gotcha. See,
I know I'm forgetting names. They all beat me though. They all beat me.
yeah, see, that's why I have you on here because you actually remember what happened last season. I thought Sakic's the yeah management for this season. He was
Yeah,
on Barbados last season, I believe.
the Kevin Durant move.
Yeah, exactly. Except he took management, took no money. Anyways,
Yeah.
we digress. Presidents for most points in the regular season, we have Team Canada, best overall team. If my picture is blocking that out for you, I'll read out the text. Don't worry, you're not missing much, even though these graphics look great. Moving on, we got Vane for the Patrick Waugh Award for top overall regular season goaltender. I mean, not much surprise there. I think probably everybody has him pegged as the favorite, maybe to win it again. Who knows? Next, Vane. Wow, surprise. Marc-Andre Fleury Award for top playoff goalie last season. Obviously, you get that award when you win a cup, don't you, Kinger?
Wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know either. Wouldn't know either.
No,
Anyways,
I'm just a big brain.
anyways, we got Dangles 13 with the most improved player award for Canada. The defenseman out west, snagging up that title. And then we have Doughty, regular season MVP, also from North Korea. Once again, championships usually win you awards. And then we also have him pegged for the Jean Beliveau Award as well for playoff MVP, leading North Korea as the forward. So nice forward and goalie tandem last season within those two. And then we have someone who's not on North Korea besides Dangles, Great Haxby with the Patrice Bergeron Award for best support. He had a little bit of a breakout season last season. CV's picking up again. I think he's carrying not too bad,
Yeah.
not too
I
bad.
know he was on North Korean and then he got moved to Finland, I believe, and I think they're sort of building around him in Finland. I think he's having a pretty solid season. I think he's winning games still.
Yeah, yeah. We'll maybe touch back on him later on. Next we have Higginson with the Alexander Ovechkin Award for most points in the regular season. Just a statistic-based award. I don't know how he got it actually. I was kind of surprised, but
Yeah, his
maybe
line was
maybe I
really
don't know
good.
anything.
Him and Panda and Swift, I think, went like 24 and 3 or something in regular season, something crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. But that was before the server rule was implemented, so I think they actually could West, right?
I think it was Auto Central back
Oh,
then,
okay.
and then playoffs they could West, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that was yeah. I remember just some element of West, maybe not regular season. And next we have the Lou Lamoriello Award going to Kessel. Lou
And
Lamoriello's
I,
precious bald head.
Yeah,
Um,
Castellacci does look like Lulan Morello, so it makes
yeah,
sense.
with or without the bad hairline.
With.
That's just, gotta blame your parents for that, Kessel. Anyways, next we have Sakic, aforementioned, with the Connor McDavid Award on Barbados for Rookie of the Year. Now he loves the league so much he decided to come back for another season, and he loves talking his success to anybody who will lend an ear or an eye. I'll tell you that much. And I believe this is the last award going to Swift, the Bobby Orr Award for Best Defenseman overall, aka kind of like the Norris. Kinger, weren't you a recipient of this award?
No, you beat me out for this award. My one Norse candidate season.
Nice,
I've never won a Norse.
nice. See, I didn't even mean to bring that up. I didn't even know I beat you out for it, but
Is the season? I think it might have been
happy.
season 10, the season before this one. I think I was on North Korea and I was like top five in every stat, and then you had like 20 more points than me though. Beat
It's
me
the
up.
CT66 effect. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I mean, I got it written down on my desk. I remember. It just
Yep,
motivates me.
yep. Post-it note on the wall. Anyways, that is the awards for the season. Feel free to go back and scroll through or whatnot. Like I said, Chad will probably post them up into the media channel. Once again, thanks to Logic for putting those graphics together, and thanks to Chad for letting us leak them to you. Now, power rankings after week kind of 2.5. We've been latent on these podcasts, as he probably told us a million times in Discord. A little bit of schedule conflicts. I have to go to bed kind of early. I'm working again. He's got a late work schedule, and Kinger's just he's just can
Mhm.
go
I'm just
wherever.
MIA all the time.
No,
Yeah.
you can go whenever. You just don't get your work done though. It,
No, never.
wait, schoolwork comes before, so I'll let you off the hook there. Uh, anyways, we first and foremost taking Japan's spot. We have number 12 Colombia. Management you can see is Chell Snipes, XX215 or Philadelphia PA Perry, and then roster maybe a little bit of changes there. It is driver 5 Young Matt Zadina Deep Mist. I don't think Zadina is actually on the team anymore. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Not too big of a move.
I think Paxby might not be there either anymore. I thought he was Finland for some reason. I could be completely wrong. I can actually go look.
Probably, but this is a later iteration, so you get what you get. If you make trades, well, I'm not sitting here all day updating them. I'm sorry. This was kind of meant for start of week 2, or like kind of week 2.5. So we'll just roll with it as you may. If they are out of date, don't worry. It probably isn't anything too major. Anyways, before I embarrass myself anymore, you can just see the roster to the left of me. Notable move I have down is they traded Pagic in their first round RA draft pick in the late draft, which is I think as of now is the first overall pick.
I think back in because Croatia, I think, has first
Oh
based
wow.
on the Prince
Yep.
incident.
Yeah. So standings wise, they're first, but
Yeah,
gotcha.
correct.
Yep. So technically the first overall, but not really. uh, so they traded that and Pagic for Date Mist Haxby, which I believe they traded away in another deal. Brown, second round RA pick from North Korea, and Eichel, TC. Notable player down, I got XX215. I believe he's their leading scorer. But overall, not too hot for Colombia, uh, especially when he got Perry stepping in as management. Kinger, what's your thoughts on Colombia's kind of infrastructure right now?
When you're letting Perry make moves, I mean, it's not going to be a playoff-bound team, I believe. No shot against Perry. It's a tough position to be in. I've seen some quotes from him. Look at the team I was given. That's a direct quote from him. I was forced into that trade, but
Yep.
honestly, I think just creative solutions down for this team.
Yeah, I know he's trying to move a couple large pieces that they have, but I think maybe their issue is they're asking too much, or maybe there's just not enough interest at all for anything to kind of be done. Obviously, their biggest asset was probably moved in that RA pick, and
Hmm.
I wish they probably kept it with some of the players that recently signed up over the past couple days. So yeah,
Yeah,
that'll
what are you gonna
sting.
do?
Uh, Finishing the season, can't say I don't see them making playoffs at all, especially with where they are in the standings. I think ceiling for them is probably number 10 in the standings. What do you think about you, Kinger?
Yeah, obviously we've seen some crazy runs, but it's just they're gonna have to get some big trades in, or they're gonna have to, I don't know, I think win out a lot of like 50-50 type games, a lot of 3-0 other teams. I think that maybe they could reach like the ninth, the eighth seed at best. But do I realistically see this team getting there? Probably not. I'd probably cap them around to 9-10. It just depends on how interested or engaged their team is, I think. If they're extremely engaged, I think they could go as high as 10 or
Yeah,
9 maybe.
yeah, exactly. But on a losing team, I think we all know that some of those guys maybe not start to show up or put in bad
Yeah.
avail. Who knows? It's always something. Anyways, I digress. Let's move on to number 11. I got Mexico at number 11, dropping 4 spots from our previous rankings at after the draft. Management, I still got Josh Yu up there, but I believe PLP Kenny is taking most of the duties after he went MIA for a week.
I
That being
believe
Josh Yu. Yeah,
PLP
relieved.
Penny or Poulin 32 is going to be taking over as owner, and then Palat is going to step in as the GM role. I do believe, if I'm correct.
Gotcha. And then Skillsy's still that AGM. Um,
Yeah, I think so.
Roster, pretty sure is pretty much intact. They still got Barks, Dempsey, Pac-Man. They waived. Palat, as you mentioned, is there. Volcom, Cappy, McAvoy, Silver, Salad Raider, and Crazy Joe. Um, Notable move for them, I have they traded Iggy and Stasny. Shout out Iggy. He got traded to Hong Kong, I believe. I think that's where he wanted to go. Um, for Astrid, Cappy, Maisie, and their first round RA draft pick. Uh, what do you think about that trade, Kinger? Who would you say
Um,
won?
I don't know. I think it all depends on that RA pick because we've seen a lot of big signups, and I think the RA pick player could probably be the best player in that deal, depending on who it is and what pick it is. If it's, I guess it'd be Hong Kong's, and I think
Yep.
Hong Kong's behind the standings. So I don't know. That player's probably around or similar to Stasny, I'd say. Maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse, depending on who they select. Iggy for Maisie, I think is pretty balanced. I think they're both pretty good goalies. And then they gained uh, Cappy and Astrid, who I believe is Krug X, who I used to play with a while ago. So I mean, those are good depth pieces. I mean, second or third liners probably for them, but they're getting a lot more talent back. I know they were struggling early on, even getting guys to show up this past week. So that move probably helped them there, help them with a good avail. I think that's probably a solid move, depending on that RA pick too.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the sentiment about. I think Iggy for Maisie might be kind of like the only wash in this deal, but it's kind of Stasny then for the first rounder, Cappy and Astrid. So it's the whoever you get in the RA plus depth, which I mean, I think it could work out. But then
Mm.
again, you have that RA pick going to kind of like a what's building up to be a bottom feeder team. So then you also have questions about will they show up.
Yeah.
But yes, you gotta see how it turns out. That's all
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna say
mean, you
about
got to
that.
take some risks.
Yep. And then for their notable player, just to finish it off, I got Skillsy X92X. Obviously, I think you go to anybody in the league and they look at this roster and they say that's like the player that stands out to them. Plus, I think he's actually been showing up to games for them, and
Yeah.
he's also been putting up decent stats as well. So I commend him for that, especially when you kind of are lacking maybe behind that line of Skillsy and Dempsey and Crazy Joe. But yeah, uh, ceiling for them, Kinger. Do you see them making playoffs? Maybe like fringe?
I think they could be a fringe playoff team, depending on that RA pick that they received. If that guy shows up and he's active, you probably put him with Skillsy and you can probably run the table and get a lot of wins. Throw Crazy Joe on D there, Silver, Solidator. Like they have a solid D core. I think scoring might be their biggest issue, besides Vale obviously and guys showing up. But I think if guys show up, if Kenny steers his team in the right direction, I could see them being a 7-8 seed.
Yeah, I think my ceiling's probably right around that 7-8 too. I don't see them getting any higher than that. And then obviously, if they get that 7-8, then they're gonna have to probably play someone like a North Korea, someone like a
Probably
Germany,
Canada, Germany.
yeah, Canada, maybe USA. I don't know. I think we're kind of stuck where we are in mud right now, but talk about that later. Talk about when we get to it. Uh, Number 10, we got Azerbaijan. Management still risky. Fraggles to Brusque. Roster you can see to my left. Um, a couple big moves. One of them being they added Bodie and Psychoangelo for Sandy, Kovalchuk, and their second round RA pick. And I'm gonna say off the bat, I kind of like this deal for Azerbaijan. I think that if Sykes shows up and plays games, they got like two pretty solid defensemen. I know Sykes on West Ping, but you got Terry and Syke like as your
It's a nice
lining,
1-2 punch.
yeah, lining lines 1 and 2, and then you can plug in anybody kind of on those 1 and 2 lines. So for example, you got like Stiff and Terry with capitalize, and then you have Bodie and Syke maybe as your second line with someone
Maybe
else,
land them off
or
yeah.
Broncos Pens, which I have actually as my notable player, which was a surprise to me because I looked at him. I looked at stats in general, and he's actually not having that bad of a season. If you look for yourself on i3hl.gg, I think he's actually their, as far as updated stats go, I think he's their leading scorer, which to me was like a surprise. Uh, Obviously, I try to look at goalies. I always try to look at skaters and goalies for this. But Risky isn't having the best of season, even though he beat me at Can-Am last night. No, ain't gonna
Yeah.
talk about that. But I want your thoughts as well on who might be that one notable player we've already from who we've already mentioned on this Azerbaijan roster.
I think Bronco Penn's JC is a really good one. I think he's probably one of the most underrated players in the league. I know he was on Region's team before when they made the finals. I forget what team they were back then, but they had Naslund and Canadian, I think. And he was like a big part of that team. So it's not surprising for me to see him here. Another one I think is Landamov. He plays all four positions really well. He's one of the few guys that can do that. So in
Mm-hmm.
a pinch, I think he's probably like, a Swiss Army knife in that sense. I think he'd probably be like the X factor. You can move him up and down your lineup, with a new game caps in the playoffs with your third line. He could be really valuable if they do make it. So I think he's probably my notable player. Not to knock Broncos Pens. Obviously, guys having a great year. Probably his best year yet since that season. But laying him up would probably be my notable player.
Yeah, no, I agree with that sentiment. It's kind of like the one player I can think of who kind of fits that billing maybe is Iggy, who plays goalie and
Yeah,
forward a little bit.
good.
Even though maybe his forward skills have kind of gone in the gutter
Deteriorated.
since he's played forward full time in LG, uh, and his ping as well. We'll put the blame on the ping. But yeah, I could have also easily chosen one of those first line guys such as Terry or Stiff, guys more well known in sixes. But I think if they didn't move Kovalchuk, I'd probably put him. Gotta be honest. I
Yeah,
think that
he's
guy's
really good.
just, yeah, he's got nasty thumbs, man. I think that's why they got a solid return that they did, because you got to recognize the value of, you know, as a defenseman or even as a forward, I think he can still carry a load of the weight as like your game seven or your line one. But yeah, any final thoughts on this team?
I'd probably put their ceiling around maybe 7 to 6 seed, I think. I think these guys, if they go on a run, if Sykes starts showing up, I don't think he's played for them yet. If Syke and Bodie are into it, and playing, if Stiff and Terry are showing up together, I think that's a really good first two lines they have. Region when he's on top of his game's a good goalie. I think they could make a run and finish as high as the sixth seed. I probably see them around seven, eighth seed. Playing like a top end team in playoffs. That's probably where I'd have them.
Yep, I'm gonna piggyback off that last sentence. I also see them kind of 7-8 as well. Voice crack. Anything else higher than that is kind of good for you. You know, proved me wrong. Anyways, enough about Risky's team. Guy loves attention. We move on to your team, South Africa, owned by yourself, Hubert and Chucky. Your roster, once again, see to my left. Notable move, I just have the Ribster for Gulag Gary, 1-for-1. Um, I've heard that Gulag Gary is actually like not too bad, and people were kind of overestimating Ribster. I My personal thoughts on that is I can't really decide a winner on this. And obviously I know Kinger, you might say that you guys edged it out, hence why you made the trade. But what was kind of your thought going into this move?
Well, Hubert came to me, and if I'm going to give a little story here, backstory on the trade, Hubert came to me and he said, "I think we have too many D because I think they wanted to put Froms on D," and he said, "I don't know. I think I'd rather Froms than Gary. I think Hubert probably has a better personal relationship with Froms, and I think he might, benefit more from playing with him just based on chemistry." And so we threw Gulag Gary on the block, and I had Gary last year. Fantastic player, probably like a second liner, I'd say, probably skill wise. You can play first line, and like with two good forwards, I think. He's kind of a flexible player, and
Mm-hmm.
I knew he would have a lot of interest on the block, so I got a lot of good trades back. And Hubert and Chucky knew Riv a little bit, and Riv was one of the players I sort of, when I got the trade, I was like, I think that'd be a really good forward for us. We needed a top two line forward, and he matched that criteria. So I think it was just a swap of positions. We filled the need, they filled the need. It was pretty balanced. A lot of people think Riv's a lot better than Gary, but I think it's probably even, maybe skill wise or need wise. So I'd probably say it was a fair trade. It wasn't a trade or anything.
Yeah, I mean, the more and more I kind of look in the trade, I would also kind of agree that's a wash. Maybe I like Riv a little bit more, just because I played with them before, and obviously, you look at LG stats and might back it up that Riv has played at a higher level than Gulag Gary, but that's sixes, not threes. You can't really read into those too much. So yeah, I might call it a wash or maybe a slight edge for you guys. Uh,
Yeah, I mean,
just
I
on
either
that
had to
front.
trade him or I was trading myself because we had too many D. Like,
You could have you, you
it
could
was
have
me
gave
or Gary, man.
yeah you could have gave yourself an easy out though. As you see, I think you're actually the team that slipped the furthest from our initial rankings, from
Start to the season, but in
4 to 9.
Frenchland, we will pull it together. Just not enough Frenchness. I think we're gonna trade some guys for some French players. If you speak English on this roster, fermez la bouche,
Yep,
because it's not gonna look good for you.
yep. Better close your mouth. Anyways, no player I have is Hebert. Guy's a staple in I3. I couldn't not put him on there because I feel like he does good with whoever, even his buddies like Mark, like who, you know, he might have to carry a little bit. And I think Mark would maybe admit that too, and Hebert, once Mark gets a couple drinks in him. But
Gotta get better.
yeah, he could also get better as well. But I think if I'm looking at this roster overall, I say the weakness in this lies in, hmm, I want to say goaltending. No, you got Charzan. I'm gonna say D depth, honestly. I know you're there. I got Hubert Chucky playing forward. Who would the other defensemen be? You said Froms and
It's
Algie.
me, Froms, and then I think we put Algie on forward now, and I think Drip and Mark rotate D on the third.
I don't like that. I think Algie would be better D. I don't know. I don't really like that for me. I think you guys have the potential to score,
Mm.
but I think defense might be lacking in that
I
department.
think I think we're just underperforming this year, to be honest. Like we lost a lot of games we maybe should have won, or close ones. I
Mm,
think if we just kind of perform better, we'll climb back up the standings to where we should be based on this roster. That's probably all I'd say.
yeah, and then touching back on notable player, I wanted to put Chucky. I had him in my prediction for top scoring forward. I don't know, he's not showing up, I guess. We'll see. We'll see
Yeah, a
how he
couple rough
finishes.
nights. Just warming up.
Yeah, warming the thumbs for playoffs when it actually counts. We'll see. We'll see
Yeah,
how.
did this last year on Barbados.
Yeah,
I do it every year.
yeah. We'll see how Chucky, the youngin out of Quebec, doesn't come playoff time. I'm sure. I'll be surprised if you guys don't make it at least as a fringe. But
Mm,
yeah, enough about your team, Kinger.
yeah,
Let's give
I don't want to talk about
share
it.
share the spotlight. Uh, Finland. That's Kindred and Ziz's team. The notable move, as you can probably tell, is basically the same as Azerbaijan because that was like their really only big move, and it was big in the whole scope of things. Roster, you can see to the left of the notable move. Uh, Not much has changed, like some waiver pickups such as Gibby, a couple products of other trades such as King Natsu and Tolerant as well, who I think was also had a cup of tea on South Africa. Um, but yeah, this roster is intriguing just from the fact that I can't really see much top end talent recognizable to me at least besides Kovalchuk.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I don't know. I don't really know who he is too much. I know he's Kindred's friend, but
Mm,
like when I looked at the stats today, just in like I think he was top five. Like he's just been racking up points. He's been winning games. So I don't know who this guy is. I don't really think I've ever met him before, but he's tearing it up.
yeah, so I think just from playing a little bit of pubs, I think Ziz, Bell, and AG Worthy play together. I want to say. And Ziz, as you mentioned, my notable player on there as well. Uh, he's played a lot of games, but he's also scored a lot of points. So it's not like his points per game is terrible at all. It's probably the opposite. Um, but yeah, with this Finland team, as you can see, didn't move from our previous rankings. So at least we kind of hit the nail on the head with this one. Um, I would say I'm gonna go against what we kind of the trend that we've been doing for predictions. I'm gonna say I'm gonna see them fall out of a playoff spot to one of those 9 and 10 teams that we have in power rankings. What do you think about that prediction?
I think a lot of guys this season have somewhat been preserving their games. I know last season a lot of people ran into Avail issues late in the season. That's kind of when like my team in Barbados kind of caught up because a lot of teams were throwing out thirds, throwing out PC fill-ins, and we kind of capitalized on that. I think this season people a lot more aware. Owners, you're a lot more subconscious of that. So I think the end games are going to be tougher, and a lot of teams are going to have their first lines left. And to echo on your point earlier, I don't think these guys they have a great roster. I don't see, the super high firepower that a lot of other teams would have, so I'd probably see them falling out too. Hopefully these guys prove me wrong. I like this roster. They're kind of an underdog team, but I'd probably say these guys finish around like 10-9.
Yeah, I just don't see the firepower. Like obviously maybe that line that I mentioned before can win you games. You can kind of try to build something with Kovalchuk, Sandy, I guess, and Freezer, but I think
Yeah,
they
or that second round RA if they get, a decent piece back in that,
or
but
also their first round RA that they get since they are a little bit lower on the table, they are going to get someone quality. Um, the list I think my last recollection of it, I would have easily 16 people I'd probably select just off that list at first glance. So there definitely is going to be talent uh, later in the first round, mid first round, and also early second. So I definitely think they can try to capitalize on that. And if that Azerbaijan pick from the second round is an early one, they can maybe also try to steal someone who might be late first round talent, and it definitely excel them forward and might be better than some of the players in the original draft. But yeah, I don't know. As of now, I just see them. We have so many teams that we say are moving up that I think these
Mhm.
are gonna kind of be the ones to pay the price, so to speak. But yeah, enough about the blue, white, and blue. Let's move on to the red, white, and blue. That is not in the North America. Croatia, as alluded to earlier, on the top left you can see HNZ Prince is gone. They have received a compensation pick of the first overall selection in the I can't even think about it. Late sign-up
Great draft.
draft. Yeah, RA draft, whatever you want to call it. But Bax and Skeebs are still there. Um, roster hasn't changed too much besides the uh, departure of Prince and calling up Demaray, who I have as my notable move. I mean, he's been. I played him and he looks solid, even though he chirped me. Um, after they beat us, I think like 0-2-1, or I don't know, as you can maybe hear my dog going off in the background. That Life Advisor Loco Krusty line has been solid for them. That's what's kind of been holding them in a playoff position right now. Um, Bandits there, still got Velno. Um, yeah, that's about it. Clashy. Um, but my notable player as well, I have Loco Krusty, part of that kind of streamer line with Life Advisor. They've been tearing it up for sure. Only playing together, and they play together like a lot. Like I swear I see that Life Advisor guy on Twitch whenever I'm on Twitch in the NHL category. It's crazy. So for that sake, I'd hope they'd be doing good. But enough of me talking, Kinger. What are your some of I can't talk. I at least have to get one of those out of the way. What do you think about Croatia overall?
I think they're a good team. I think, Bax and Skeebs have been hit with some unfortunate circumstances to end the year, or to start the year. You can see H and Z Prince just absolutely scratched out. That's a big loss for them, and I think they've done well to, overcome that. Do I think this is a playoff team? I think this is probably a team that could fall just due to, like, echoing on the last team, a lot of lack of firepower. I think V Bandit and Nets is really good. I think Phantom is really good, flashy, but I don't see these guys beating a Doughty Higgs line. I don't see these guys beating a Sack Huff line. That's probably where I could see them falling off. The Loco Krusty line's really good, but I don't see that second line punch really there. So I'd probably say these guys are going to be probably fighting for a fringe playoff seed, probably like around 7, 8 maybe. I don't know. I just don't see the firepower that other teams have.
Yeah, I mean, outside of that Life Advisor Loco Krusty duo, I don't really see it either. You don't got Prince anymore. Obviously, you're gonna have the first overall RA selection, which whether they decide to trade it or use someone with it to select, completely up to them. I think definitely trading it would probably be the right decision, given that, as you alluded to, Kinger, they do have some depth issues on that second and third line. And come
Mm-hmm.
playoffs, if they do make it in on like a 6, 7, or 8 seed, that's your third line might need to steal a game, or definitely your second line. You can't carry on the first line to win all your games.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they hold on. But if they do falter, I probably would say that the first line isn't carrying. that's where issues may lie, and also the second and third line dropping games as games start to come out of that first line and avail issues start to run rampant. Um, but good goalies though. I like their goalies, Crosby and Bandit. I think that's a solid 1-2 tandem. That's kind of lesser known.
Agreed.
Um, but yeah, other than that, not a lot. Not a lot.
No.
Final thoughts? Anything to add?
Uh, no, I don't think so. I think, I think Skeeps is really underrated, but I just can't. I don't know. I can't see these guys holding on to a playoff seed unless they win some big games against, some of the top end teams.
Yeah. I mean, before we move on, kudos for moving up 4 spots in our rankings. That's always good.
And,
You're trending in the right direction. Keep it
and
going.
speaking of moving up,
Speaking of moving
up
up,
next,
yeah, oh my God, these guys giving us so much flack. God, I mean, this should at least make you like somewhat more happy, right? The largest movers on our list. Japan, number 6, moving up 6. Thank God there isn't a third 6 there. Managed still by Stan, Specco, and Jack Quality Meats. Roster is pretty much intact. Um, I don't think there were any moves to be made, or if there were,
I think it might be intact.
if there were moves,
I think,
probably TC.
yeah, I think they called up Varlamov because I remember he played us and I think he absolutely shut the door and I was upset. And then they ended up calling him up and sending someone down right after that series. So I think
Gotcha.
that was the one they had.
One move. I mean, not notable really. Nothing to write home to your mom about. Um, Notable player, I got Sexton, or I like to call him Ton of Sex, because that guy in net is something to behold. Uh, Unorthodox, but it works for sure. Lots of doesn't right stick a lot, but oh my God, his left stick work is something else. Um, right now, I think just looking at this roster, I think I can touch on again our sentiment of Naslin and Remac taking them as far as they will go, and they've taken them pretty far so far, living up to kind of that carry that we set for them a couple weeks ago. And also, just off the top of my head, I think Yurko has actually pulled some weight as well, a little bit. And then, as we touched on, maybe some of depth guys coming up as well. Varlamov. Uh, I know Unleash the Fury has supplemented that Naslin Remac line. There's maybe a product of the chemistry. And I think Stan and Specco have been also carrying their fair share as well. So surprising, Kinger.
Yeah, I knew these guys could be, a potential playoff team. I know Focus and Iggy might have been a little bit harder on them, but the reason I thought so is just because of the mismatch Naslin creates. It doesn't matter who you have on the other side of the ice. When you have this guy with his 6-6 build, um, there's always a shot to win, I think. It's just so unorthodox and it just creates so many problems that you don't usually encounter. It's hard to play against. So I think, that in itself can win you games. Not to knock on, Naslin as a player at all, but I think just that build is just so hard to play against. All you see a lot of guys complain about it every night he's playing in I3. And Sexton's been really hot. He's been a big name everyone's talking about in nets. I think he's probably in the top two, top three running for the Vesna right now, or whatever we call the Vesna, top goalie. So I
Yep.
think he might be running out of games soon. So I think Varlamov and who's their other goalie? Ukro?
Uh,
I forget.
Maybe Toothbrush.
Yeah, maybe Toothbrush. I think they're gonna have to step up and win some games in net for them to maintain or go higher on power rankings and the standings. But so far they've been excellent.
Yeah, I don't know. They've a lot of unknown names, maybe besides Naslin and Remac, but it's band of misfits, I'll say. Uh, that's my summary of this team, pretty much. Even though it's like the same group of guys, you'll see like guys outside of I3 come in and will say, who the hell is this? I think it's gonna be a walk. But then you see Naslin 6-6 build, and you're like, huh, that wasn't so fun to play against.
No.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. That's crazy. That's crazy to me how he plays that build. Anyways, number 5. I forget who I even put number 5. Oh yeah, Hong Kong. How could I forget? Dropping 2 spots from her. I think we had him top 3, right out 3. Still run by Zucro and Forbes. Dings the still there as well. Um, Roster: Slarchy, Bevy, Marchant, Huber, Stasny, Bruins, Rask, Iggy, Mace, McCutch, and then Sushi X97. I don't know who that is. Sorry to that guy. And then, as we touched on earlier, the notable move with Mexico picking up Iggy and Stasny, it really solidified the roster, but did cost them the first round RA pick in the process. Uh, I'm more like that trade too. I like it for Mexico, but I think Mexico's management will be a big key deterministic factor in how that pick is used. Hopefully, don't
Mm.
misuse it.
Yeah,
uh,
hopefully.
but on paper, I really like this team. It might be my sixes guy kind of mentality speaking when I see like underrated people like Mace um, and Bruins and Bevy Marchand there, who's a Hut guy. But they've fallen a little bit from expectations, still holding a solid playoff spot and footing as well, in part thanks to notable player Rask, who the youngin from QC under the staircase always makes a good case to show why he's a top threes tendy, and also carrying San Jose and LG as well. Good to him. Um, but yeah, Kinger, if you were to give another notable player besides Rask on this list, even though it might be obvious to people who are watching, who would it be?
Um, hmm. I think a notable player for them could be Hebert. I know a lot of people thought this guy was kind of a reach pick. I think he was round three, two or three. And I know a lot of people were, oh, that's early for him. You could have got him later. But I think he's been playing really well for them. I know he plays, the pretty fundamental way. He's active with the post checks, good gap control, quick passer. So that's just a guy you can kind of fill on any line. He's going to work well with anyone you have. I think McCutch is a super underrated player for them. He plays, I think, all skaters and threes. I don't know if he plays goalie, I don't think. But if you can throw him up and down your lineup, he can play with a lot of different guys. He's had a lot of success in the league before. I think he's another guy that's really underrated for them, and that's going to really help them in the long run with the new playoff format.
Yeah, no Forbes or Dings. Hey, that's a surprise.
Um,
I thought you were
I,
gonna go a classic route.
I think that's how good Forbes and Dings are. I think they're probably top five in their own positions, and Zucro even like coming back to high three, he's been just excellent so far. I did a little bit of stat searching on him because obviously I don't get to watch too many of the games,
Hmm.
but he's really well, and he hasn't missed a beat since he came back.
Yeah, good to note. And they do have depth as well, what I like, especially with the new trade. But then again, they kind of went depth over future assets,
Yeah.
future depth or star talent that they could have got. So I mean, we'll see how it shakes out. Um,
Yeah.
I think long term roster looks like it'll go 2 rounds in playoffs, 3 rounds maybe. But yeah,
Yeah, I think this is a scary team for a lot of teams in playoffs just due to their lines. I think they can do a lot of swapping around, and I don't think they have really a set, first, second, third. They can swap a lot of guys in and out that could create problems. So this is probably not a team I'd like to play in playoffs.
yeah. I don't see outside of Forbes and Dings and like Stasny, I don't see like a lot of like notable names. But then again, I don't see like anybody who's inherently I'm like, oh, that'll kind of be easy, right? Or I have no clue who that is. I kind of have an idea of all of them, and all of them can bring something to the table in a potential playoff game or regular season game. So I think ceiling for them is probably back to seed three, where we put them.
Yeah.
But I think more realistic, I see them holding number four, number five, and then
Yeah,
facing that other seed of 4 or 5.
yeah, I'd probably put them there for regular season. Playoffs, I probably put them, I think, what is it, 3 rounds you have to win? There's 8 teams. Yeah, I think
Oh,
three, right? So I'd
okay,
probably say
two.
this is a 2 round deep team.
Yeah, three.
Two to
I don't.
three.
I don't think finals. I was thinking 4 rounds in total. Sorry, that's my fault. 2 rounds. I'll stick with 2 rounds then. Finals. I don't know if they're that there. Um, obviously, see how it shakes out. Got a couple more days to the trade, or a week, I believe, to trade. So see how things shake out. I love late season trades, and then they either flop or do amazing because you get one-sided trades. But only time will tell, right, Kinger?
Yeah, I mean, time's gonna tell with this team. I think they're really good, but maybe it's maybe I'm overrating them. I don't know.
No, I think they'll still go for 4 or 5 seed, and then 1 or 2 rounds deep. I don't see them making finals, but that's definitely a solid team. Not a knock that you're getting knocked out in round two. That still means that you place top four in the league, and kind of
Yeah.
where we have you on this as well. So, speaking of number four, at number four we have Canada dropping 2 spots from number two previously after draft rankings. Management Higginson, Doughty, and Trash Panda, sort of kind of notable names to follow
Mm.
around together. Notable players on roster: Burns, Michelle, Slime, uh, Parksy. I believe they moved Parksy. Or no, they got Parksy.
Yeah, I think they traded Joe for Parksy and Pac-Man, and then Pac-Man was later waived by Mexico or wherever he is.
Okay, no. So I think Parksy's on Azerbaijan now, and
So they moved him again.
Cappy is on Canada.
Mm.
I think because this is a little out of date from what when we were originally planning to present this. Um, we'll still roll with it anyways. It's still mostly intact. I would still probably pin the notable move still as Parksy for Joe Davola and Pac-Man who was waived. So really just 1 for 1. Um, and then Cappy for Parksy again. So I think the roster is pretty much the same. Just switch out those 2 names. Notable player, as mentioned before in the awards, I got Higginson, point leader. Another big build user. I think he uses that grinder build of
Yeah, like 6 foot 240 or
yeah,
something.
insanely high weight. Just doesn't get bumped and is just a slow rock moving up the ice. Um, Definitely underperforming from what we had them in terms of our expectations, but the core is there, is what I
Yeah.
still see. Like Burns, easily like top 5 goalie, as we say. Magic Mooch, I think he's built himself up to be an okay backup. And you have Clutch Kolbs as goalie number 3. I mean, that's a solid number 3. Or you can kind of interchange the 2 and 3 together. I mean, whoever. I think Kolbs has been faltering a little bit though. Defense though, you got Michelle, and you would have, I believe, who would play defense on that Higginson and Trash Panel line though? So I'm trying to
I
think.
don't know if they might have Parksy on, or I guess Parksy isn't there anymore.
It'd be if Cappy, I think, plays center. I
Yeah,
think it's Cappy, Doughty, and Michelle as one line, and then
yeah,
Higgs, Panda, and someone else. Teji?
yeah. Maybe I honestly don't have a clue.
Or is maybe I think they might have got. Is Swift still playing and he just changed his tag to something I
No,
don't
Swift
know?
didn't sign up because I remember they tried to draft him and he wasn't on the draft list.
Oh, okay. All right.
Maybe they might have like something weird like Higgs on defense. I haven't played these guys at all. I haven't really watched them. I don't know
Yeah.
what they're doing, to be honest with defense. I
I
guess
mean,
I'd say their weakness is defense then. Like,
yeah. I mean, there still are like a top tier team as
oh, for
seen
sure.
by our previous ranking and still our ranking of top four. But they have faltered a little bit from expectation, at least our own. They still got the West line too, of Zach, Hanyuk, and Teji, and also Doughty's West. I mean, a lot of these guys are West. Even Parksy was West, and then they got rid of
Hmm.
him.
And Crazy Joe, I think,
Yeah,
was West too.
I think I think X factor for this team uh, is going to be server. Like I said again,
Vito's.
a lot of central, which could screw up a
Yeah.
lot of QC based teams that we've seen, like such as Azerbaijan. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I think this team will stack up well against like a team like Germany that likes using the South Central server. I think, this is a team where that server's not really gonna help Germany as much as it would against other teams.
yeah, I think it will still obviously help Germany because you got Yoda there playing on 2 ping.
Hmm. I
But
think like Dangles is like 15 on that server.
yeah, but it's not gonna, to your point, it's not gonna have the same effect as it would others. Cause like I don't even know what I get on Texas. I've never played there, and I kind of don't want to play there. So please don't
Yeah,
make me play there.
I
Um,
didn't have a good night on Texas. You might have seen me in the chat. I didn't have a good night.
oh yeah, I can imagine that you weren't having a fun time. But yeah, that Cappy for Parksy trade, anyways. Um, I think that's a wash. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I'd probably say so.
And then Parksy for
Um,
Crazy Joe and Pac-Man. I
that kind of feels like a wash to me. It's like kind of like second line maybe guys going
yeah.
like just a D, kind of just like different positions, but I'd probably say they're around the same skill level.
And then if you were to give me one player quick, who would you put in the notable player beside Higginson?
Besides Higgs, I think Zach Jeet's a really underrated guy for them. I know he's a PlayStation guy,
Hmm.
but I've seen this guy play goalie. I've seen this guy, play forward, center, wing. I think he's probably an underrated guy. Or Michelle, because they're gonna have a lot of flexibility when it comes to positions with Zach Jeet, Michelle, Doughty, Burns even can come out of and play, skater. So I'd probably put Zach G as a notable player. I think he's kind of underrated. Most I3 would know him, or a staple like Michelle,
Yeah,
who's just a monster.
I was gonna put Burns, um,
That's a good one.
but because I'm not a lot of goalie love, but yeah, I think you
Who
can
cares?
easily put Michelle as well. I'd probably put Michelle as my two and Burns as my three for this roster. Doughty, obviously, I that's another good one.
Mm,
those those
yeah, that's
those
a good
four
roster.
those four, yeah, it's just a good roster. What can I say? 2 or 3 rounds, anything under, I think, is a disappointment. Can we agree on
Yeah,
that?
I think these guys are cup or bust type of mentality.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you've been playing for so long in this league, I think that's kind of mentality every season. Can't be no bottom feeder, that's for sure.
No.
All right, number three. Have Canada's counterparts in USA, my team. No bias at all. I even moved them down, as you can see. 2 spots. Melvin is still there, surprisingly. Same with JJ. No quits yet.
No.
Roster is still exactly the same. We have not made any moves. So nice and
Uh,
nice and easy for
or
me because I don't gotta write anything. We don't got a lot of stuff to talk about. So this will be an easy and quick one. Uh, Notable players, Vane. I think that's probably like the best player on this team, in my opinion, just in terms of rankings wise. Like he's the top in his position for me. Um, then my second, I would say Melvin, probably for a notable player, because Melvin and JJ are having good seasons. What do you think about this team that I built?
I think this team's really really good. I hate to give you props like that, but I think this team's really solid. I think you got good depth, a good mix. The one issue I'd say that you have on your team is maybe defense, because I don't think
That's
besides
fair.
yourself, I guess Sirs would be your second line. I guess that's not bad, but like I think a team like Germany would have two really good D, maybe not the forward depth or as Banks on their team, but I think they might have you in defense, which would give them the slight edge.
Yep.
But other than that, I think this team's really solid. Notable player, I'd probably do Banks or maybe Shocks. I think Shocks is kind of like an X Factor player for you guys. If that guy does really well, then I think you guys will win a cup.
Yeah,
If that guy's kind of mediocre, it's meh.
I think Shocks is another good notable player because he is anchoring the second line with me, and if he excels, that line will excel in turn our team. I really don't really need to worry about Melvin and JJ because Melvin's just
Yeah,
gonna hold the puck for 10 minutes on you and then force it. They'll somehow go through.
yeah,
Um, Goalies I like. Obviously, I'm not trying to toot my home horn. And then third line, I can see maybe that might be a worry for myself and a lot of other teams. Um, but with that late player draft coming in, I do see a lot of talent being pushed down. So I think that will definitely have an effect throughout the league, an equaling effect, maybe. Um, but I think we can agree maybe for upper upper echelon teams in terms of standings when it comes to their picks. your picks will be more contributing to depth as
Mm.
opposed to bottom teams where they get star power, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because you
Like
still you
you
have
guys
to
are gonna
double.
basically build your third line tomorrow, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Who knows what
Depends
route
on
we
who you get.
decide to go? Still a lot of
Yeah.
time for trades and whatnot. I'll love that. Love that fun stuff. But yeah, we're on a little bit of a losing streak, so hopefully we won't slip out of top four. That's where I hope we finish. Any final comments?
No. On to the next.
On to the next. You heard the man. North Korea. Kim Jong is still there.
Yeah.
We got North Korea number 2 moving up 3 spots from number 5. Management Kesak and Jarvis. Roster still has guys like Huff, Lou Skills, Goon, Finn, even though I heard Finn's been a little bit moody. Um,
Mm.
Once again, touching on that notable move of getting Columbia's first round RA pick, I think that will be insanely huge. Or second overall in the grand scheme of things, but truly first overall if Princeton quit. Um, Once again, touching on that trade, I think it's clear that that trade was essentially depth for a star player, right?
Yeah.
And also trade leverage. So for that, I'm probably gonna have heavily favor North Korea on that trade. Once again, if I didn't say that previously, make it
Yeah, I'd
known.
probably agree with that. Obviously, when we see which player this first round RA pick is, I think most people are going to say, dude, like that trade would never get pushed through, which obviously you can't tell it's going to be, second overall or realistically the first overall pick because they're last.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was a really good move by Sack and Kess. Really good risk to take. As my voice starts cracking.
Don't worry, we're just two guys with two cracky voices. Right with you. And I think the trade in itself was also maybe a little risky because you didn't know who was signing up within the last
Yeah,
week.
that's true.
I mean, you'd still get someone solid, but maybe not to the talent level that has signed up recently. You got, guys like Rocket, Odie, Heroic Duck, who's won a title in I3.
Hmm.
Um,
On this team.
yeah, on the team. So,
Hint, hint.
mm, I I'm not gonna give out who I would choose if this goes up before the draft. We can divulge that information next episode
Yeah,
when we can maybe we'll do a mock list of what we think should have happened before it actually
yeah.
goes and sets in stone, and then we can come back and compare how picks actually ended up. But anyways, on to the current episode. Notable player, I think this one was a pretty obvious one in Ahuff.
I agree.
Um, I think he might be the leading goal scorer in the league.
I think he led the league in goals last year as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he hasn't even played a lot of games either as of now, which is scary to me. But he still has a ton
Hmm.
of points. Sakic as well to that effect. That top line is gonna be tough. Loose skills as well, kind of just there to support the high flying antics. Second line though, that's where I see maybe. And would that be BP, Frank, and Kess?
I think BP Frank Hess and I don't
Maybe
know if they're
Goal?
running with Schoon or Goal. Yeah,
Maybe Goal and Goon on the third line since they're Westies
yeah, it could be.
with Jarvis. Yeah, that's actually kind of like a solid third line a little bit.
Mm.
Pull people on Central or West Ping maybe if they screw up with vetoes. Yeah,
Yeah,
these are like
I think.
it's full of sixes talent as well as like greasy threes guys. I shouldn't say greasy, but like low key threes guys. You know what I mean? Like that
Mm.
can grease out wins. I wouldn't be surprised if this team finishes first and goes to the
No, neither would
finals.
I.
Especially with those 2 first round RA picks. That's ridiculous. I still can't believe that he did that, and that's what he's talking about so much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, not much more to say from me on that front. Anything from you, Kinger?
No, I think, the Sack Cup duos, an elite first line. I'd say it's probably like a top three line in the league, and I think
Yep.
that line can beat anyone. So I think this is cup contender, cup or bust type team.
Yeah, yeah, perfectly put. Anyways, as you can probably tell from process elimination, or if you skipped far ahead in the video, number
Hmm.
one is Germany, uh, the second highest moving team, +5, right behind Japan by 1 spot. No moves made, maybe besides TC trades. Uh, yeah, a really easy team to do. Uh, Yoda and Dangles are still there on Texas server as management. Rampage still a top goalie as AGM. Notable guys as well as CT, Dimitri, uh, and Bure and AK-11. Number one. Wow. I would not see this team being where they were uh, if they didn't have CT. I gotta say,
Hmm.
he has really kind of carried that first line of Demi, Flemmer. I wouldn't even really. I might not even be a first line. Maybe like a 1A, 1B type deal that they have over
Yeah,
there with
I'd agree with
Yoda,
that.
Dangles, and AK maybe or Bure. It's a lot of
Yeah,
West.
yeah. This is another team that has a lot of West and probably, is going to use the South Central server a lot in playoffs and stuff, which is going to be pretty scary.
Yeah, and the notable player, as I said, CT. But I think I don't know. It's a toss up for my second notable player. Who would you put right behind CT for this team?
Maybe Dimitri. I think he's quietly having a really good season. I think he has a shit ton of points. Or
Language.
Dangles. I think Dangles is probably leading D in points. I think at the time of recording this. So I think he might be in the case for a Norris maybe this year. I think he could possibly be a game changer for them.
Yeah, won an award last season, so why not do it for multiple seasons, right?
Yeah, get a streak going.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they keep on this hot streak, and kind of like a third line with a band of misfits like Shafty, Primo, and Houdini.
Hmm.
That's a funny line. Or
Yeah,
Fedosev. Yeah, they're winning games though, so I mean,
yeah, can't discredit them.
yeah, no knocks to you, man. That's pretty good. I think a lot of these teams maybe thought Germany was tanking, and then they just kept on winning. Like they weren't playing their like key guys like a lot of games, but they're still winning games, which was that's insane in itself to me. Um, but yeah, number one. Any further thoughts on this, Kinger, before we move on?
Um, I think the key for these guys is vetoes, not knocking, the players at all. But I think server wise, their server is going to help them a lot. It's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable in playoffs. I think this is a scary team to play against if you're a team like South Africa with a lot of QCs, just looking at it my point of view.
Yep.
Or I think, if your team, that has predominantly East guys even, I think this could be a scary series for you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It's a lot of mixed though. It's like you have a Texas, you have a East, and you have a West. That's very balanced on servers,
Yeah,
but a little leaning towards maybe that
more
bottom
West
three,
maybe. Yeah.
that bottom three server list that we don't really see, such as like Cali, Oregon, and Texas. Um, but yeah, I think top two is where I see them cementing themselves to be. Um, 2 rounds, I'm going to give this team. I don't think they're going to make finals, though. What do you think about that?
I think it'll be between. I think the top four. I think are going to be the top four at the end of the year. If I had to pick right now, based off rosters, I think Canada, USA, North Korea, Germany, and I think Germany depends who they get. I think different teams match up against different teams, but I think it's probably going to be the final four. I'd probably say is their cap right now, but who knows?
Yep. But if power rankings roll out the way that standings do, or if our power rankings end up to be the actual standings, and all those teams do go to playoffs, we have Germany versus Canada, USA versus North Korea. Who do you see being in those finals out of those four teams?
Right now, I'd
Yeah,
have to go North Korea, USA probably. I think Canada could be in there, but I'd probably say Germany's more of like a fourth.
so
That's just my opinion, though. I think I'd
I
probably
don't.
see
I was asking. So Germany's going to be playing Canada, and
Germany playing Canada.
North
I'd
Korea is
probably see
playing USA.
I'd probably see Canada. Oh, the North Korea USA one's close. I'd probably say Canada, North Korea, just because you're on USA, maybe. I don't know. I think that'd be a 7 game series.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that prediction. Um, but one series I say, if it actually does happen to be a 1 versus 4 seed, is Germany and Canada, because he got West on both teams, like and a lot of it. So Michelle might not have a lot of fun.
No,
Same with CT. CT might not have a lot of fun either. Yeah,
no,
that'll be
it's gonna be a
interesting to
rough one.
see what West or Texas guys reign supreme in that series. So yeah, that is power rankings for week kind of 2.5. But now, as mentioned previously, we'll move on to our top 10 in each position as to now. As you can see, Brian Burke's pointing out at the desk that he used to work at, but now is actually working at a NHL desk once again. Um, the lists for top 10 forwards, wing and center combined. We are not doing wing and center as a position in itself because that's way too difficult to differentiate. I think you can agree on that, Kinger. That'll be impossible to like separate, right? You hear Kinger? Kinger? All right. Kinger may have dropped out, or let me. My mic is still fine. So Kinger may have dropped out of the call. I'm not sure what's going on with him, but nonetheless, I will continue on his behalf. Uh, as you can see, far left we have Iggy, uh, with the top forwards being CT, Doughty, Dings, Ahuff, Slim, Sakic, Shocks, Chucky, Bodie or Skillsy, and BP Frank in that order. Kinger in the middle. You can see these lists are kind of similar. You got Doughty, CT, Dings, Ahuff, Sakic, Slim, Naslin, JJ, Dimitri, and Kessel. A little bit of differentiation between 7 and 10 there. And you have my list, far right. We got CT, Huff, Slim, Chucky, Dings, Doughty, Skillsy, Sakic, Shocks, and Naslund. Um, so yeah, take those lists for as you will. Don't take them to heart, please. This is just our personal opinions. As you see, there is some differentiation, but there are a lot of common names that are shared between the lists. Obviously, top three and top five, top six kind of like stays the same. And yeah, so forwards, top 10. That is that. Top 10 defensemen, we have Iggy choosing myself, Michelle, Kovalchuk, Forbes, Remack, Haxby, Hubert, Dangles, Salad Raider, and Josh Yu. Kinger, we got St. Michelle, myself, Dangles, Remack, Forbes, Kovalchuk, Loose Hills, Terry, Hubert, and Crazy Joe. My list, I'm not going to include myself. I don't want to be biased. So I have Michelle, Kovalchuk, Remack, Forbes, Terry, Kinger, Haxby, Loose Skills, Dangles, and Josh Yu. Uh, Once again, very similar, but also different. A little more differentiation maybe outside of top four for each list. A lot of similar names, but in a lot of different places. And yeah, that is that. Once again, take it as you will with a grain of salt. Goalies, the final position for Iggy, the goalie himself. We got Vane, Rampage, Rask, Burns, Charzin, Sexton, Perry, Bandit, Fedisev, and Mooch. That's an interesting bottom 10. I would not expect Bush to be there. Kinger, we have Vane, Sexton, Rask, Rampage, Burns, Finn, Iggy, McAvoy, Bandit, and Fedisev. And on my own personal list, got to continue the trend of Vane at number 1 with Rampage, Burns, Rask, Sexton, Charzan, Bandit, Perry, Finn, and Iggy following suit. I think we can see from these lists that there's a clear kind of top 5 that is formed in any way you see. We have top 5 of Vane, Rampage, Burns, Rask, Rampage, and Sexton all in that order. And just to touch on one guy, I think Sexton has been a pleasant surprise in 9-3 over the past 2 or 3 seasons. And he has made a case and statement that, um, he has moved in that top 5 and maybe can overtake guys that have been mentioned before him. Charzan as well. Very solid goalie, left outside the top 5 in a couple lists. Kinger didn't even mention him at all. I think you forgot about him. And then you got a little bit of differentiation, I believe, between 7 and 10, or 6 and 10 as well. But overall, as you can see, top 10s before late draft, very, very similar top end talent, and then below, kind of that other 5 or 6 or even 4, kind of becomes a little bit interesting. That's where you see the differentiation in opinion per se. But yeah, it's been a great, fun podcast. Episode 2. Hoping to bring you episode 3 sooner rather than later. At least not as long as episode 2 has taken to come to you. But yeah, try to get episode 3 out, including the late sign-up draft. I think that will be a ton of fun. Bring a ton of changes to rosters and see how those change up, as well as seeing how that affects standings in the next week to come, as there still are games to be played. This has been Focus, signing off, and on behalf of Kinger. Thank you so much for watching. Unfortunately, Kinger just couldn't hang in there. Talk to you soon. Take it easy, and we'll see you later. Peace.